What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So, as you might have seen by the title, Team AJ. In fact, here lie, one of my sources, one of my deep sleeper cell Donnies, deep inside AJ's camp, reached out to me and said, "Yo, YB, listen. What we do know is, right now, Team AJ have reached out to Andy Majin Buu. Andy." Oh, must be a moment. Andy Majin Buu Ruiz, and told him to hold tight for the trilogy because this Usyk situation is a little bit flip floppy. And for you man out there, let's not forget this. There's a whole bag of man out there right now who ended up with a whole face full of bust from the YB, no doubt. Because I told you, I was the first one to tell you, man, AJ ain't happy with WBO. He ain't even a bit happy. And it's now what? June 20th. You man have a short memory. In fact, you man have got two things. You've got a short memory and a face full of bust. No doubt. Because like I told you, if WBO had a deadline, let me remind you, before you end up getting another face full. Yeah? WBO had a deadline. It was May 31st. It's now June 20th. And you goofies was telling me about RYB, don't know what you're talking about. Oops. What happened to this? And this is what I was trying to explain to you, man. AJ, I had some next goofy telling me, RYB, you're wrong. See, at AJ, the Usyk fight's happening. Is it? Oops. Is it? Where is it then? Like I told you. And what I'm hearing now, the more things keep getting back to me, I'm hearing AJ's been listening to my video. Because what did I tell you? I said, listen, AJ, if I was you, I'd tell WBO, listen, I may or may not do the Usyk fight, but you know what I'll do? I'll let you know if I do or don't do it. What do we know now? In fact, I also said, if I was AJ, I'd tell WBO, listen, string them along. Yeah? Oh, I'll let you know next week. Oh, and the week after. All we know now is, it's been 3 weeks since their deadline. And like I was about to say, some goofy said, oh, YB, you said it weren't going to happen. Now, what I said was, AJ's fuming with the WBO, and AJ is not going to be dancing to their tune no more. Which is exactly what's playing out right now. Because, all of a sudden, let's not forget this, when the Fury fight fell through, WBO came out real smoky. Oh yeah, May 31st, you must do this, you must do that. Next thing you know, AJ told them, listen, it's not going to go like that. If you want the $1 million payday, if you want the $1 million commissions, you'll sit there and you'll be quiet. And what do we know? All of a sudden, let's not forget this, when the Fury fight fell through, the WBO was all in the video, giving out deadlines, putting in orders. Where have they been for 3 weeks? I haven't heard from them, have you? You tell me. Have you heard from a WBO in 3 weeks? I haven't. What happened to all deadline? Like I told you, what happened to all deadline? AJ did away with deadline. And he's put them back into line. Which is exactly what I said he would do. And has now done. No doubt. That said, even with the WBO settled, even with AJ putting the WBO in the cupboard with Barry, yeah? Even with AJ putting WBO in the cupboard, it still don't guarantee the fight going to be on. Because that weren't the only thing. AJ wasn't, his only prerequisite wasn't just WBO stop being on my back. It was also this goofy Usyks character. Yeah? Because he want more money. That goofy cat. Then there's more money. He want more money, he want this, he want that. That's the other thing. It's not just about WBO here. We've got some greedy cats running around the place. It's also about the principle. What do we know? People talk about AJ's ducking Usyks, and what happened to... Where was you big mouth dons, yeah? All you big mouth dons who was worrying about AJ ducking Usyks, where was you, man, for the last 4 months? When he should have been fighting Joyce. Now, to be honest, having heard Joyce recently, I don't even feel bad for him. For a while, yeah, I was mad. For a while, I was steaming, but he don't even seem to be bothered. I don't get it. He's fighting Takam now. Him and Big Mouth Sam Jones. They haven't mentioned a word about Usyk ducking them, which leads me to believe there's been some sort of payoff going on here, from what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that Joe Joyce and Sam Jones have been paid off by some next Ukrainian gangster dons. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah? Or he got touched. Either way, it's one or the other. I'm hearing that some next Ukrainian gangster dons have touched Joe Joyce and Sam Jones and told them to be quiet. Because I don't care what no one says. Sam Jones don't shut his mouth for nothing. All of a sudden, his big fight, arguably the biggest fight of his career, which would be the mandatory for AJ, and he's just said nothing about it. And now, and what leads me to believe he's been touched, yeah, is the fact that he ain't even, like, Joe Joyce is now himself calling AJ out, saying, "Oh, I want AJ after Takam." What? So what? You was ordered. You was the fight which would have Joe Joyce now is mentioning AJ, but the fight which would have guaranteed you that against Usyk, you've just completely forgot it. Like, innit? What is this? How can I? Yeah, I'm not a stakeholder in Joe Joyce versus Usyk at all. I couldn't care less. But how can it be the man Joe Joyce and his team who are directly, do you know what I'm saying? They're the number one dons in that fight. How can I be saying something about it? I've said more about it. I've made about 5 20-minute videos talking about it. What are these goofy cats doing? Just silent. It's almost like it didn't happen. Which again, listen, what we do know is, yeah, in life, when things which have happened, when things which are blatant fact, it's a blatant fact the WBO ordered Usyk versus Joyce as a final eliminator for AJ. That's a fact. That isn't the way. I swear down. The way the whole thing's been hushed up here, the way that Joe Joyce and Sam Jones have been touched by some next Ukrainian generals. I swear down. I had to go and check Daily Mail and kind of remind myself it did happen. Wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? The way that it's carried on, I haven't heard Eddie Hearn say nothing. I ain't heard no one. And it's about time. I wish Team AJ would come out and say, or someone at least, someone needs to come out and say what happened, because I don't get it. I'm sorry. Someone somewhere, because what is this? What happened? 1 minute it was Usyk versus Joyce, and then it wasn't. And no one said nothing since. And that's why, from what I'm hearing, some next Ukrainian General Donny has reached out and touched Joyce and told him, listen, you're making us look bad. Yeah, we're not going to have our Ukraine, because we know, especially like in them areas, yeah, them Russian dons, they're very kind of, not territorial, but what's the word of, they like their heroes, Habib, Putin, they like, you know what I mean, they like their representatives. They're not going to have their representative mugged off for nothing. Yeah, and that's why the YB's the only one who can talk about it, because they can't touch me. Yeah, you see the difference? Joyce got touched. Sam Jones, Mr. Big Mouth got touched. YB, out here talking. Yeah, there's levels to this game. Sam Jones thought he was like the YB. He's not. He got touched, and he's quiet all of a sudden. Yeah, the Ukrainian General Donny has touched Sam Jones so dutifully. He don't even remember what, you know what I'm saying? He don't even remember the topic. He don't even remember there was a mandatory. He's completely wiped out of his mind. Them Ukrainian dons have done him like the Men in Black thing. That, you know what I mean? The Men in Black light. That big red light thing he pulls out. The dildo light. Yeah? On Men in Black, they pull out the dildo light. That dildo light thing, that rabbit thing. Yeah, the rabbit dildo light from Men in Black. They pulled it out, and Sam Jones and Joe Joyce, they don't even remember the WBO mandatory with Usyk. Listen, the Ukrainian General Don done him wrong. Yeah, they've been done wrong. They've been touched, no doubt, 100%. Because it's something that's adding up here. And when things don't add up, when people all of a sudden have absolute memory loss, and everyone has the same kind of memory loss, that's what you call touched. Because I've seen that kind of programming before. In fact, we all have recently. Where else have we seen a whole bag of dons? In fact, we've seen it a few places. Where else have we seen over the last few months a whole bag of dons mysteriously saying the same thing? Oh, Fury and AJ fight? Let's not forget that. Fury saying, oh yeah, C19, we can't happen. That was odd, wasn't it? That was definitely an MTK Ultra, where they was all touched into saying the same thing. Then we had the other one. What was the other one? Billy Ho. Oh, he was going to turn Southpaw. He was going to turn Orthodox. And he was going to, the rematch, and it was a close fight. And Billy was up 4 rounds. All that kind of stuff. And now we've got this. Now, they're not saying the same thing, but they're not. In fact, the silence is what's consistent here. How can everyone associated with Joyce and Usyks, not one man, and again, please, this wasn't, oh, YB loves to hear himself speak. No, it did actually happen, yeah? A lot of you, I think some of you man got touched as well, because you man don't seem to mention it either. Joyce and Usyks was supposed to happen. What? Why is no one talking about that? 4 months. It's been ordered back in February, I think. 4 months later, and listen, it's not even just 4 months later. Joe Joyce is now signed up to do another fight, and he hasn't. It's mental, isn't it mental? Joyce is talking about fighting AJ now again, and this is what pisses me off. Yeah, is the fact that again everyone's talking about fighting AJ. And this is what I tried to warn everyone about. This is what I was trying to warn Team AJ about. Do not fight Usyks. Relinquish the belt and let a true champion reveal himself. Because at the moment you're just fighting all a bunch of bum contenders, which does you no favours. You're getting paid contender money essentially. AJ now is essentially doing a job of a contender. He has to fight all the contenders. That's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to be fighting the top level dons. You have 3 belts. You are, for all intents and purposes, you are the undisputed champion. Undisputed champions don't be doing, oh, you know what, I'm going to fight every contestant coming. I'm going to fight every Tom, Dick and Harry that pops his head up. No, it's how it's supposed to work is, the undisputed champion fights the number 1 guy in the world. Every time. Not, oh, well, number 3 and number 4 don't want to fight, so I'll fight. No, that's not how it works. Because at the moment, the sport's all back to front. You've got the undisputed champion fighting all the contenders. Meanwhile, the contenders just sit around waiting. That can't work. It can't. No, obviously, unfortunately, that is how it's working. But end of the day, AJ needs to draw a line in the sand and say, listen, I will not be doing all the work and having people sitting out with their hands open. Now, again, many low IQ people will say, oh, why be that ducking? No, ducking is when you refuse to fight the best. What I'm proposing is the exact opposite. AJ only will fight the best. That's what he's saying. I only want to fight the best. Don't throw me no Tom, Dick and Harrys who haven't proven themselves, Usyks. So on that basis, what AJ's proposing is, or what AJ should propose to all these belts and say, listen, from now on, I will only fight the bona fide best. I will not be fighting unproven contenders until they do the contending, which would be Joyce versus Usyks. The winner of Joyce versus Usyks, he will be a bona fide champion kind of thing. Don't send me no cats who haven't had no heavyweight decent wins. Don't send me no goofy. You know, Usyk is a goofy. Don't send me up no people. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't beat the other people, don't bother. Don't even waste my time with it. And the whole point that Joe Joyce has now forgot about the Usyk fight and he's calling AJ out. That's when that started happening. Yeah, that for me said it all. Exactly what I've been talking about. Exactly what I've been trying to avoid. Now AJ has to do the work that everyone else didn't want to do. So now AJ will be in a situation where he has to fight Usyk and then fight Joyce. Meanwhile, them two have not fought each other, if that makes sense. So where does it end? We're not far off here. By the fact that AJ has to fight Joyce and then Usyk and Joyce here, we're not far off, literally. I'm not being funny. There's even talk of AJ fighting Daniel Dubois, which is another example. Dubois has no headline wins, and AJ's being forced to fight him. What is this? And the problem is when you allow it, because AJ can only allow it. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll do everyone else's work for them. No. Give the belts up and go and take them when they've earned it. Go and take them back is what I propose. We're not going to be fighting no random dons who haven't beat no one. It should be when you have 3 belts, yeah, because of obviously you're only one man and you have a limited amount of time, the governing body should be doing their best to help you with that, i.e. weedle out all the bums. Alright, we've got two guys here, Usyk and Joyce. AJ has other things going on potentially, the Wilder fight or whatever else, the Fury fight or whatever else. So in the meantime, to make sure everyone gets their due call, let's start knocking some of these guys off between each other. Let's find out who the best contenders are. Because at the moment, Usyks and Joyce don't have a belt. They're just bare bums. So why not have the bare bums, find out who the best bare bum is, and then send the best one up to AJ? At the moment, you got Dubois, Joyce, and Usyks. All of them allegedly are in the mix kind of thing. Well, we know Dubois has been beat by Joyce, so he's not really in the mix. But either way, whether he's in the mix or not, the bottom line is that they're talking about Dubois versus AJ right now. That's mental. What has Dubois done apart from no Frank Warren? But either way, that should never be the case. The governing body should stand in and say, listen, Dubois, unless you beat a contender, you ain't fighting AJ. Because the world can't work where everyone just comes up to heavyweight and just hangs around fighting top 50 fighters and then gets a $10 million payday. There's got to be, I don't know what it is with these belt companies. You'd think they'd be trying to help people become undisputed, and that's why people can't even maintain undisputed these days. Because if you become undisputed, guess what? They're gonna force you to fight random dons who no one knows. Because there's 4 belts, unless these belts start working together and saying, well, you know what, WBA and WBO, we both have #1 contenders who ain't beat no one. Let's fight them off together. The WBA and WBO should work together when you have an undisputed champion. Or someone who's, you know what I mean, like someone like AJ who's trying to make undisputed. You can't have all these goofies getting mandatories or getting shots when they haven't even proven it themselves, or they refuse to prove it themselves. Because guess what? Usyks refuses to prove it himself. He refuses to earn the shot. And again, this whole deja vu thing about the Usyks and Joyce fights, shocking. And I understand, Joe Joyce, listen. Sam Jones, listen. I absolutely understand that you've been touched. No doubt, 100%. I understand some next Ukrainian General Donny has reached out and has touched you. And you had to be silent. Yeah, I understand that 100%. But still, I understand publicly you can't say anything. Because there's no doubt you've been touched. However, behind the scenes, you could have been sending some letters off. But then again, from what I'm hearing, maybe I'm hearing that I'm hearing these Ukrainian generals, they've got cats in the WBO, so it may be one of them ones where Joe Joyce tries it on the sly. Oh, we can't say anything publicly because we've been touched, so we'll send a letter off to the WBO. But then again, one of his informers, one of the Ukrainian General Don's informers, it got back to him, and so it ended up. Yeah, to be fair to Joe Joyce, listen, you've been touched, no doubt, 100%. So I'm not even sure what I'm talking about this for, because Joe Joyce is in the middle of between a rock and a hard place here. He can't speak out because the Ukrainian military general Don won't allow it. He can't speak, and that's why. Please don't. Oh, YB, why? I had some cats telling me, YB, why is Joe Joyce forgot about the Usyk fight? Well, now we all know why he forgot about the Usyk fight, because that didn't make no sense to me. Because him fighting to Cam doesn't guarantee you anything. Joe Joyce had a guarantee to fight AJ, a guaranteed $10 million fight, and he's forgot about it. Do you think that's a coincidence? Absolutely not. Ukrainian, some next Ukrainian Rashadav, is it Rashadav? I don't know. There's some next guy in, is it Ukraine? Some next, or something like that. It's some next Ukraine, or was it Ragastan? I'm not sure, but it's some next guy, yeah. And he was like a warlord kind of thing, but that's the man there. That man there, is it Ragdov? I'm not sure, but that one there, that's the one who touched Joe Joyce. Ragdov? I don't know his name, but either way, he's been involved in loads of embezzling government funds and whatnot. So anyway, listen, you've been touched. Yeah, Joe Joyce been touched, no doubt. Sam Jones, big mouth, Mr. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, big mouth Sam Jones has the most to say about every situation. The one time he genuinely has a kind of case to have a big mouth, or has a case to have a lot to say, or like, think of all the fans here. Think of all the times people have heard from Sam Jones and never wanted to listen to him because he's been talking about a random topic. This was the time, Joyce versus Usyk, yeah? That was the time We should have been hearing from Sam Jones the most. Mr. Big Mouth. He should have been no word of a lie, yeah. Every other day, he should have been on Boxing Social, IFL, whoever else, and saying, WBO, Usyk, when are we doing this fight? Why aren't you responding to my emails? What's going on? Shouldn't he? That's what he should have been doing. No joke. 100%. That was your meal ticket. Joyce versus Usyk was your meal ticket because, number one, you got whooped in the amateurs. That was your get back. Usyk, you're ducking us because you don't want us to get our vengeance on you because you're too small. That's what you could have been saying. Number two, Usyk, WBO have ordered this. What are you doing? This narrative from Big Mouth Sam Jones should have been going on for 4 months now. But I didn't hear him once. No joke. I haven't. You man, show me a video, yeah, of Sam Jones atting Usyk about any of this stuff. Show me it. You ain't gonna find it nowhere. That's where it was. You ain't gonna find it nowhere. Is where you're gonna find it. That's not a coincidence. That there is what happens when the hand reaches out and man gets touched. Simple as that. And the way that it's unbelievable. The way that Joe Joyce is now carrying on like nothing happened. I swear down. The way that Joe Joyce, I promise you, man, yeah. Initially, I got this information. I received the information of Joe Joyce being touched, or Team Joe Joyce getting touched by some next Ukrainian military general Don. I got this information about 4 weeks ago, but I thought, oh, you know what? Nah, there's no way. There's no way that some next Ukrainian military general Don has reached out and touched Team Joyce. But then, it wasn't until, I think a few days ago, when I saw the Joyce and Takam press conference, or whatever it was, the announcement. And it wasn't until then when I saw how happy and excited Joe Joyce was, I thought, what? This wasn't, for example, normally, yeah, if you've been given a big fight like Joyce versus Usyk would have been, when you compare it to Joyce versus Takam, for example, Joyce versus Takam is small fry compared to Joyce versus Usyk. So normally, yeah, when a man was given on a plate Joyce versus Usyk, and they end up having to fight Takam, what would you expect in that situation? You'd expect something to go along the lines of, oh, you know what, yeah, we've had to fight Takam because Usyk shit himself. Usyk, why did you duck me? Usyk, the WBO ordered this fight. Where you at? That's what I was expecting. Ain't it though? How many times have we seen that before? How many times, yeah, have we seen a fight be ordered, it not happen, and then a new fight gets booked, which would be Joyce versus Takam, and the man then, who's been done wrong, Joyce, sounds off saying, yeah, I've had to fight this Takam replacement, but I was supposed to be fighting Usyk because Usyk shit himself or whatever. That's what's supposed to happen. Instead, I see Joyce versus Takam be announced, and there wasn't one, and tell a lie, there was one hint. Joyce put one little hint out there. He said, oh yeah, well, I've been sparring, I'm fighting Takam, but I was sparring to fight Usyk. That was it. I swear to God. And that really, have you ever seen a video, yeah, where someone's been kidnapped and they're kind of like, they're trying to put out a signal without making it bait to their captors? Joe Joyce has been so touched by some next Ukrainian general militia Don, yeah? Some next Ukrainian militia Don has touched Joe Joyce. He was trying to kind of scream out, YB, help me. YB, yes. You're right, YB. You're right, I have been touched, but I can't slag Usyk off, so what I'll do instead is, I'll kind of put a hint in there. That was the hint. Joe Joyce saying, yeah, I've been sparring to fight Usyk, but I'm fighting Takam now. That was the one. That was the line, I swear to God. That was him basically saying that, yeah, I'm pissed about me having to fight this guy. It was supposed to be Usyk, but you know how it goes. I've been touched. I swear to God, that was the line. And so here, all these little bits and bobs, the fact he kind of screamed out for help with that one liner there about the sparring. The fact he acted so, it was too fake to me. Things just felt off. The way he was smiling about, oh yeah, I can't wait to fight Takam. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen someone lose a big fight, get given a crap replacement and be happy about it. Unless, you know what I'm saying, he'd been told. The next Ukrainian militia don told him, listen, you best kiss, you know what I mean? You best smile and kiss babies at this Takampres. You best, Joe Joyce, Team Joyce, you best smile and kiss babies at this Takampres conference. Because if we hear a peep about how Usyks-Ducked and whatever else, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's going to end up truly peak for you. That's what he was told, no doubt. Because what we do know is, it don't make no sense no other way. It don't make no sense. How can you lose a massive fight like that and have nothing to say about it? And not only that, grin teeth and say, oh yeah, I can't wait to fight Dakar. It's my favourite fight and I've been looking forward to this all week. What? He was supposed to be, he was ordered. Let's not forget that. This wasn't a case of where they were trying to put on something nice for the kids. No, it was ordered. He was ordered to fight Usyks. And you get thrown to cam and you're just trying to, you hype, oh yeah, I can't wait, my favourite, I've been looking forward to this fight ever since I was young. What? And then the last bit for me, the final confirmation, was when he started talking about fighting AJ. I thought, wow, it's all over now. Because the Usyks fight was the fight that would get you close to fighting AJ. The Takam fight ain't going to do shit for you. So why have you got AJ in your mouth? But you had the key to fight AJ against Usyks. So the minute I heard Joe Joyce talking about fighting AJ, I knew something wrong. Because if you can talk about fighting AJ, why have you missed? That there is what you call missing. That there is what you call skipping steps. The steps. If you really wanted to fight AJ, your golden ticket card was fighting Usyks. But you completely skipped over that. Usyks right now is like the missing man. Then it's like Voldemort. You can't mention him. Joe Joyce, Team Joe Joyce have been told by some next Ukrainian militia don, from now on, Alexander Usyk and his name is Voldemort to you. You know what I'm saying? A man who could not be mentioned. Because they've seen the YB's videos. They know that, listen, if Sam Jones can put a video out going in on Usyks, the YB was going to take it and get off all over Usyks. And these Ukrainian cats, they're very territorial. They don't want the YB on Usyks' neck anymore. Yeah? And if it wasn't because of my level of OPSEC, yeah? If it wasn't because of my level of operational security, I'd have been touched as well. But I'm just a little bit too much of a high level. Yeah? The YB's OPSEC is too elite. They can't, you know what I'm saying? They're about, currently, from what I'm hearing, they're about 2 or 3 safe houses behind. Yeah? They get there about 3 weeks after I'm gone. No doubt. So, listen. Joe Joyce been touched. It's a shame, and that's why I wish there weren't so many caballas operating in boxing. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't believe it. 4 weeks ago, like I said, 4 weeks ago when I was told, oh, YB, the reason that Joe Joyce has been silent is because he got touched. I thought, nah, there's no way. But then, like I said, I watched that press conference and I thought, wow. Yeah, I watched Joe Joyce screaming out for help. Screaming out, YB, say something because I've been silenced. Oh, yeah, I was sparring for Usyks. So wait there, he was sparring for Usyks, but you haven't got nothing else to say about the topic. You haven't got, oh wait there, so you were sparring for Usyks, but you didn't want to mention the fact that the WBO ordered it and Usyk shit himself, or for whatever reason the fight didn't happen. And that's how you know the media are in on it. Because why have you never wanted that? Why, all the people, who've interviewed Joe Joyce, why did not one say, Joe, what happened with you and Usyks then? Not one. And I believe the MTK cabal, the Usyks, or the Ukrainian cabal, I reckon they all work together. They all kind of have, because it's not adding up for me. Not one media said to Joe Joyce, you was ordered to fight Usyks. What happened with that? What? No, is that not a critical question? Do you not think? Oh, but when it comes to fighting AJ, everyone's got the AJ questions ready. Oh yeah. Everyone loves to get off over that, don't they? They love to get off over that. Oh, Joe Joyce, tell us about fighting AJ. What about the fight you was ordered to do? Anyway, listen. All I can say right now, you know what, I'll end it right here, man. End of the day, everyone pray for Team Joyce, because, listen, they're going through it right now. No doubt.